Good afternoon. The best way to predict the future is to design it. I welcome one and all for 79th episode of Creative Talks. I am Supriya Naika, who is hosting this program. Creative. Creative is a group of people who are like-minded and eager to gain new knowledge. Cre means creativity, active means activeness. To be active, we need creativity. Knowledge Square is our tagline. Sharing of knowledge increases our knowledge. Vision of Creative to build constructive thinking on various domains. And we mainly focus on non-textual, non-academic, non-syllabus related concepts. I could like to extend our sincere gratitude to all our resource persons for accepting our request. Every Saturday, Creative organize weekend talks between 3 to 4 p.m. on Zoom platform and live stream on our YouTube channel, Creative GBD. Today's creative topic is sustainable architecture. Sustainable design is a practice of creating buildings which makes as little impact on natural world as possible. It promotes the health of the buildings occupants at the same time as reduces the negative effects of the construction process on the environment. To know more about sustainable architecture, we have Mr. Ajit Andagere sir with us today. I welcome our speaker and all the participants for today's session. And I call Sai Madhuri, a creative volunteer, to introduce today's speaker. Over to Madhuri.
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. Architecture is not based on concrete, steel, and elements of the soil. It is based on wonders. Once again, I welcome all the participants and speakers to 79th Creative episode, Sustainable Architecture. To present this talk, we have Ajit Andagere sir with us today in Creative Weekend session. Here I have a small introduction about Ajit sir. Ajit Andagere is an alumni of Malnad College of Engineering, Hassan, Karnataka, having graduated as an architect in 2002. Shortly after, Ajit sir received a project to build a resort near Sandur, Ballari. Ajit sir consciously chose to live on site for the duration of the project to gain hands-on experience working with natural materials and craftsmen. These 18 months reinforced Ajit sir's commitment to end-to-end design, as well as a passion for traditional craftsmen and techniques, a journey which continues today. For several years, Ajit sir founded architecture practice. Andagere Architects worked from the famous World Heritage Site Hampi and Narityagram Dance School, whilst Ajit sir designed the campus before finally settling in the rural Magadi Taluk. The Pitcher Square practice is about 2 hours from Bangalore, and the land is aptly named Bande Tota, means Boulder's Garden. A multidisciplinary team of passionate architects, interns, carpenters, blacksmiths, potters, and other craftsmen live in surrounding villages and attend the studio and workshop each day. The practice provides end-to-end services, designs, sustainable construction, project management, research, furniture, and object development. Today, Andagere Architects has worked all around India, and their projects Jalakara, a boutique villa located on Andaman Islands, was featured in several international travel and design magazines. And according to Times Travel, these has rated as one in 50 best boutique hotel in the world 2017. And Swarga, a farmhouse near Bangalore, was featured in Architectural Digest. Their current focus is on using their experience and knowledge towards building community-based social welfare, redefining luxury through tourism and government projects. The practice remains committed to exploring the fusion between the contemporary and traditional sustainable approaches and how this contributes to India's unique architectural voice and identity. In the year 2017, Ajit sir co-founded a non-profit organization called Samrakshan India to document vanishing common man vernacular architecture of India. Currently, they are documenting houses of South India and conducting hands-on experiences, workshops in vernacular ecological buildings, techniques to architects and architecture students. This is about today's speaker. On behalf of all the participants and creative team, I once again welcome you, Ajit sir.
Thank you, Madhuri. Over to you, Ajit sir.
Thank you. Namaste, Elrigu. Thank you, Supriya, for giving me an opportunity to share my experience and some explanation towards sustainable architecture today. Today, I'll be talking briefly about my practice as an office and what we do. And I'm sharing one architecture project with you all. And one more project from Samrakshan India, which is a documentation. And, I'm going to share some knowledge about why sustainability in architecture and life. So thank you, Sai Madhuri, for introduction. As you said, there are two offices. One is Andhagiri Architects. Mainly we do build new projects from residences to community buildings to tourism projects, and also working with the NGOs, building houses for people who can't afford an architect or even who can't afford to raise their own money to build their houses. So we work with the government agencies and NGOs to, as an architect, to help them to build their houses. So about the practice Andhagiri Architects, I'm going to talk about the craftsmanship. See, to build any houses or, talk about a house, today what we see is, a lot of, because of the industrialization, India is developing, there are a lot of industries are coming, and a lot of new age materials, people are using it to, kind of reduce the time. And because it's mass produced, the cost of the construction will come down. But our practice, mainly, when I say practice, for architectural office, for building this process, we call it as a practice. We are kind of taken a different route from the beginning, since 2002. It's to observe how people used to build earlier, 100 years ago, 50 years ago, 200, 300 years ago, for us to understand, the past and to, decide whether can we utilize that inspiration and the technique and the knowledge to the 21st century buildings, what we build. So, our whole, process has been mainly looking at those and adopting to the 21st century. So these are the images of various craftsmen. When you say craftsmen, it, earlier days, every village, had a mason, a potter, a carpenter, a blacksmith. These, and of course, agriculturists, they would need a house. So they work with these 4 to 5 craftsmen. So it was a barter system. So, every village or a bigger village had these craftsmen. So any house or any building was built in that village or in the surrounding taluk or hobli. So these people would build the houses. So there was a craft, developed over the years based on that, climatic condition, or the material is available. So in our projects today, we are trying to use these people to build the modern structures. So in that way, the craft is, there is a continuation. So through architects and through builders, we support this craft. So these are some of the images, from different projects of ours in, various part of India. We build mainly earthen material, local material. I will get to the material part a little later. You can see, mud has been used, thatch has been used, bamboo, cow dung, natural stone, laterite stone, granite, based on whatever, within 50, 100 kilometers radius of the site, the material is available. So we try to take those material to a next level in our buildings. We also use extensively coconut timber, arecanut. Coconut timber is a non-forest timber. That means, we use wood, but we try to not to use, forest timber, because, forest, when we cut a forest tree, it has to be balanced. A lot of the time we don't have a control on, are we planting it back? That's why we're using a lot of commercial crop, where a farmer has a coconut farm. After 50, 60, 70 years, he's going to cut it and replant a coconut. So we kind of, after our observation, we felt like coconut timber is amazing timber if it is utilized in the right way. So we are part of the whole life cycle of the tree, where we give a use to that. These are some of the scale models we build. After designing any project, while designing the project, we build a study model to understand whether our design fit in a three-dimensional, the proportion, the height. Through the model, scale model, it's all handmade, not a 3D printed. We still believe in building with hand, so we can relate to the wall or the roof with a proportionate height. And once we design is finalized, we build a kind of a final model. It can be in wood or a balsa wood or a plywood. Then we, to a detailed level, so we keep it on site. So even a builder or a carpenter, even us, kind of every time we visit the site, we understand what we thought of, how it will be. So they, the builders will have, it will be helpful for them to understand, oh, this is how it looks eventually. Not just, showing a two-dimensional drawings. These are the, every stage we do a lot of sketching. So as an architect, what does architect do? We are trained to visualize the entire form of a building before even building it. So that's what we get trained, in college when we're studying and after practice. So sketching is one of the very important tool. So, with just a pencil, you can be anywhere. You don't need to depend on a computer or any other tool. So whatever comes in your mind, you can sketch it and, whether it's proportionate, whether it's going to work out, for the site, how it looks from different angle. It's all in the sketches. So these are the initial sketches we do to understand the process of designing. So today I'm going to share about one project built through Andhagiri Architects. You all might have known this or visited this project. It's a H. Narasimhaiah Science Museum in near Gauribidanur. This is a project, it's funded from the government and a local committee. It's for the, mainly for students of Karnataka and the country, where H. Narasimhaiah Science Society has come up with a project to build a science museum where it's not just the blackboard teaching, through objects and models to educate the basics of science and what are the invention is happening around the world. It's an amazing step taken from the government and the society. So they've hired us to design this project. It's the first phase of project. It's a mathematical and astronomy science museum. So as an architect, we kind of, after getting the project, we kind of looked around in Gauribidanur, understanding what is the weather, how the rainfall, how people used to build. So these are the local inspiration for us. That's what we do in any project. We kind of look around 20, 30, 40 kilometers radius, because even today there are 50, 100, 200, 300-year-old buildings are standing, withstood the challenges of time and weather and calamities. So right there we have a solution, time-tested solution. We don't have to imagine or recreate or invent everything from scratch, but take what is available in the surrounding and take it to a next level based on today's needs and the technologies available with us. So that's a kind of a journey, that's a philosophy we work with, where we take the past, understand to the present, and we design and build which can cater to the next 100 years or 200 years or 50 years, whatever lifespan of the building which we were asked for. So this is a famous Nandi temple, which is near the Nandi Hills. We kind of studied, it's a public building, for public to come and attend the temple and the Kalyani. So by looking at this temple, we understood, okay, granite is available locally, because those days, most of the buildings were built from what is locally available within 1, 2, 5, 10 kilometers, because those times the transportation was limited, the mode of transportation. So any material has to be so close. So the time span of the building and even the cost will be reduced. So in this project, we kind of understood the scale, the proportion, how they use the craft. So that means the craftsmen were, locally available. So, and also we looked into in, Chikbalapur district, the common man houses or the structures, what are the material, how they used it. So they, and by looking at a building, we understood, look at the right top corner, it's a flat roof using stone, because stone is available locally. They use that, it's economical. And also because it's a flat roof, that means the rainfall is very limited. That means it doesn't rain a lot compared to other part of, Karnataka, where you have slope roof. That means it rains there. So these are the simple signs for us to, without even getting into any data, how much rainfall. So just looking at these buildings, one can understand how much rain, what is the kind of, the heat, by looking at the openings. And also, it's a hot and dry climate. So they didn't have large opening. Large opening means you invite a lot of heat. So how do you cool the building? That's why, these buildings had corridors. So, you get a shaded corridor. So building will be cooler. It doesn't get exposed all the part with the direct sunlight. That means the building get heated. So you need to cool it. So these are the observation gave us a idea how we should be designing, the science museum. So this is the master plan of the 16 acres where, we designed the main building, which is in the rectangle where there's, housing the auditorium and the curated science exhibition space, and remaining part, all the, which is the element, mainly, how earlier days people used to find time. We didn't have a clock there. And so various, when you visit this place, you get to experience a lot of it. So as a designer working with the scientists and, from Indian Institute of Science, so we kind of different consultants. So we got a requirement from them, what need to be done and how need to be done, where need to be placed, because I'm not a mathematician or an astrophysics physician. So, by getting the requirement from them, so we kind of try to give a shape, how to build it, which lasts longer. This is the plan seen from the top of that main building, where on the left-hand side, it's an auditorium with other facilities like toilets, with a two back entry, because when you have an auditorium, you need to have a, immediate exit points. any calamities. So we kind of taken all those bylaws or guidelines while designing, and also library space. So, central space is a street, which is part of the street where you enter. On the left-hand side is an auditorium, office, and the library. On the right-hand side is a exhibition of exhibiting, various of, science models, objects related to science. So we have curated the entire space. Where would the, students and people enter? What do they see? Where do they come out? So as a designer, it's our duty to kind of, design all of it, not just the building, keep, all kind of, if 200 students come at a time, so how does the space get utilized? Whether you, keep them in batches, and, when they come out, what do they see? Where do they go? All this flow diagram, everything had to be worked out while designing this building. You can see, those circular, those are the trees. So we created courtyards, where courtyard is a very common feature in that part or rest of the Karnataka, where it is it's a natural way of, having a cross ventilation. Cross ventilation means the fresh air comes into the building, and, it takes the, heated air from the internal space of the building, which takes it out. So there's a constant cycle of fresh air comes in, and, it goes out. So it keeps the thermal comfort inside, a cooler. So that's why we created the various size, courtyards to get also, direct and diffuse sunlight. If you look at some of the middle spaces, doesn't have any windows, but we're bringing the skylight with a controlled way. It's kind of lit the entire space. And because of the hot and dry, the temperature can go up to 42, 43 degrees in this, part of Karnataka. So we had to, protect the building with an envelope, which is a skin, So we wear, for example, cotton cloth in summer because, it's cooler for our body. Like that, building is also a living object. It has to breathe. It has to create a kind of a comfortable environment for us as a human being to live and, to work. So we can't, as an architect, it's our duty, you build a structure, then, connect an AC or a fan. That's not a solution. That is, one of the alternative or as a backup. But, naturally, when we build any project and any building, if it is in, imagine if you're building something in Himalaya, it's cold. So how building naturally can, collect the heat of the day and, releases in the evening. So you feel, little warm. So you don't have to every time depend on mechanical, electrical energy. So that's, in a way, it's a sustainable architecture where, work within what is available in nature to our advantage, control it. So we feel comfortable inside. So when our skin, when our body feel comfortable, our mind also can be at calm, can be at peace. So, a lot of the time, when we enter a building, we feel, we get irritated because it's, kind of claustrophobic, or it's very warm. There's not much ventilation. So also, you can't think freely. You can't think beautifully. Or so any building, it plays a very important role. When we start observing it, I've observed a lot of people when they enter a house or any building, first thing they do is they go and open the windows because the fresh air to come in and, things like that. So this is the plan. So this is the scale model. So we build a scale model for the project to understand the scale. So this is the top view. You can see we've taken at the human eye level, the photograph, the right side picture. So, so the top picture where, in the site, we are excavating a rainwater collection pond. So that's the first thing we do. So understand, whatever rains, where does the water flow? Do we collect the rain for our own use? So what happened from the earth, what we, excavated, we said, okay, let's build the entire structure from the earth, which is collected, which is, within 100 meters, 50 meters radius. So then, we kind of understood what are the technique people built, in the last 1,000 years. So which can have a 1 foot, 1.5 foot thick wall, which becomes a, natural insulation as a nice, wall thickness. So it, the hot air doesn't come directly. It acts as a filter. Earth is a fantastic material which breathes like our skin. For example, in summer, when you go out, you sweat. That means your skin is breathing. Imagine if so if that wall, if you take out the breathable character of the wall, it's like we are laminating ourselves, with the plastic. It's like you can't breathe, you sweat, you start sweating it. Same thing happens to any building. The moment the walls doesn't breathe, you start sweating inside. You must have observed, So these observation is the key. So we used a technique, two techniques, earthen techniques, where one technique is the main, which is called rammed earth, which is one of the oldest technique, used from, humans from all over the world. And one of the oldest building which is existing today, it's in Spiti Valley, that's built in rammed earth. Also, Great Wall of China, part of Great Wall of China is built with the same technique. And there is something called Adobe. Adobe in Kannada, it's called Hasi Itige. So the bricks, what we see today, red bricks, it's all, it's baked. So you make a clay, you make, put it into a mold, and, you put it in a kiln to bake it. That's like a terracotta, how it is made, or a pottery, how it is made. To make this brick, you need a firewood or a coals. So you need energy, right? So today the bricks manufacturer use coal and sometimes, fossil fuel. So we thought, okay, what is the way, without burning this brick, is there a natural way utilizing the sun? So sun-dried bricks, that's how earlier people used to do. Any houses, you must have, if you go out, you see old 40, 50, 60-year-old houses, not everybody could afford to buy burnt brick. So what they did, they themselves made their own bricks every day they would make 100 bricks, the family, after their work. So that's how they used to build. So we use the same technique called Adobe. It's a manually made, sun-dried. So we didn't use any firewood or, coal to burn it. We added lime as a stabilizer. And the left bottom picture, we use granite, which is available in Chikbalapur district, as the main structural pillar. So right bottom is the rammed earth technique. It's like you can see the images, which is we did first, we did trial period where we did various mixture of soil, different color, to see which is the suitable proportion, how much sand particle or a clay we need to use, how much lime and how much water. So we did a test of the left top bottom, the top is like we mixing the soil. On the right picture where we created a box out of plywood and wood, where you create a box, whatever thickness wall you need. So here we choose the 18-inch, 1.5 foot thick because of the weather. So we wanted a thick wall. Again, that's an observation from the old houses, what we saw. They all had a thick wall. The moment you enter from outside to inside of house, there'll be 4 to 8 degree difference in temperature. You feel, start feeling cooler. You feel like, wow, why? Mana is to cooler there because of the thick wall, earthen wall. So we use the similar technique. So first we did try, 3 or 4 different proportions. Then the, the clients and the, even the DC of and the MLA of Gauribidanur, they all came and they saw that, they touched it. They felt like, wow, yes, it's cooler, it's stronger. Even we, waited for a few weeks to see how strong it becomes. And, once you build the wall, the next day you remove that shuttering, which is a plywood. So that's it. You don't need to do plaster. You don't need to do anything. So the beauty of this rammed earth technique, you need one mason who understands the plumb line, tube level, whether the wall is in straight line. So rest all is, you need a helpers, laborers with the shoulder power to do the manual ramming. You put the soil into the box, then you ram it. So you put 6 inches of loose soil, then you ram it, it becomes 4 inches. Then you add one more layer of 6 inches. Like that, you layer by layer by layer, you start building it. So this is the formwork, just to give an idea. So rammed earth is nothing but, how the soil and sand is formed on the planet. One of the major reason is the granite, various millions of years with the wind and rain, it becomes sand. And, so here we recreating from soil and sand, making a stone again. The wall becomes so hard in time. You can see this image in the right bottom is the formwork, using wood and plywood. We, wherever we wanted to build the wall, we, build this first, up to 2 feet high shuttering. We kind of, as you go, as you complete the 2 feet, you go again 1 more 2 feet, you go higher, whatever height you require. Then, you complete the wall today evening, tomorrow morning, you remove it. Wall is, it's built. And you just need a, curing, with a spray of water for a few days, because we added lime. And for external wall, we added about 4 to 5% of cement, because if it rains, as a stabilization. And also psychologically, people, a lot of people are asking, you're not adding cement, whether this building will, survive or it will last. We used to ask, okay, what's your grandfather's house? How old it is? Okay, 120 years. Is it still existing? Yes. How it is built? It's earth. Then just pure with earth, it's, sustained for 120 years. That means there is something in it, right? So this is how the making of this science center main, envelope, the main wall outside. The partition walls we build with bricks. On the left picture, you can see, we are drying this adobe brick, the same proportion what we use for the rammed earth. You can see on the left top in the picture, that's the rammed earth wall, which is already built. Here we're making the bricks and drying it. We dry it for almost 15 to 20 days. We keep it upside down, we cure it, then it becomes, very, strong. On the right side picture, we used granite pillars, because granite, you must have seen a lot of government buildings, in, Gauri Bidanur or Bangalore, they all used, Bangalore is a granite country. Underneath us in Bangalore, there's granite everywhere. So it lasts for thousands of years if it is used rightly. And, so we took that initiative to, because 100 years down the line, if you look at this building, they're like, wow, that, 100 years ago, people had that kind of techniques. They used it like that. Even we wonder now, some of the buildings when we see, which is 200 years ago, how did they build it? What was the technology was available? So we build it with, today's technology. We use cranes to lift the stone. Same, the thing 100 years ago would have been something else, right? So we spoke about today's time. We build it according to today's time. This is an image showing the adobe bricks stacked out to, we build all the internal walls, which is 10 inches thick, because the external, we build it with 18 inches. That's the first contact of sun. So it kind of acts as a filter. It holds the temperature, because it's, breathes, it's, becomes cooler inside, because earth has moisture. This is the finished project. The photograph, it's a main axis where you enter the building. That's the, street where we planted trees, which gives a shade. On the left wing is the corridor and the, auditorium entry. On the right side, you enter the science museum where, curated exhibition space. So this, this is the exhibition space, internal space, where we, we're going to hang a lot of objects and, printed material on the wall. So in the night, usually you have a spotted light. If you go to any galleries or exhibition space, a lot of the things is hung on the wall. So you need a light. What about in the daytime? We thought, okay, we don't want to use, bulbs or, for the daytime, to highlight the, object on the wall. So we brought in a skylight, very, we made a split opening in this, flat roof. So natural light, kind of lights the entire wall. This is the photo taken in the middle of the day. So where there is no external window, this space doesn't have any external window, but we bring in the light from the top. Again, not a large opening. The moment you have a large opening, that means your space get heated up. Then you need to cool it. That's why we just kept a very slit. All you need is just to wash the wall. The wall we painted with a lime wash. That's again, lime breathes. We didn't go for any polymer based paints. We used the lime wash. So the white reflects the light. You must have known white always reflects, the black absorbs. So it reflects the light, indirect light, into the space. So it becomes very pleasant to your eyes. This is the picture taken at the time of construction. So where a lot of students visited. So you can see internal wall, we had a concrete pillar to support the flat roof, but external wall, which is a rammed earth wall, which is a load bearing. Load bearing means the wall is taking the load of the roof. This is the main street which I was talking about. That's how you enter, where your eye is not blocked. Your vision is going through the building. So what happens is building is part of nature, not just kind of you block it with the eye. And also it gives a sense of something is happening beyond the building as well. So we kept other objects beyond the building. So this is a rammed earth wall, which because we use the lime, lime gets set and becomes stronger and stronger in time with the moisture from the air. This is the courtyard where we use the granite. This is where after the tour, the students come with a teacher, so they kind of gather here, they sit. This is all inspiration from Kalyani's observed around. It's a multifunctional as well. The rainwater collects here. It goes in underground pipe, and also in the dry season, people can sit here under the tree. We planted this tree. Eventually, it kind of start giving a complete shade to the courtyard where the birds will come and sit. So it becomes, the experience becomes quite pleasant when anybody visits the building. This is different pictures of the same building, which is completely earthen. So it looks like earth has emerged from and formed its own shape of the building. There is no disconnection. So if, imagine if I had painted it as a white, so it's kind of a complete, because there's no, earth is red, so the wall is white. So here, the wall itself, it look like earthen, it's a continuation of the earth into a vertical. So it's kind of emerged by itself. You must have seen the anthill, the hutta, where it's kind of emerged from the earth. It kind of looks like that. We had a visitor, a monkey, kind of checking out the roof. That's the entry, kind of a seating where we, kept all the planets in a proportionate scale. So when a students enter, they gather here, the teacher or a guide will kind of explain how the whole journey of this, will be, what you're going to see first. This is where they meet and they disperse from there. So we created a kind of an amphitheater again, with 3 seats. This entry circular, it kind of, you gather there and, you can have a talk, discussion. So this is H. Narasimhaiah project. So now getting on to talking about Samrakshan India. Samrakshan India is a in Sanskrit, Samrakshan means conservation. So in this organization, we are trying to study how common man means houses, used to build of different districts in Karnataka, different state in India. For as an architect to build anything, we believed that understanding how people used to build is very important. All this information, the schools and the colleges doesn't teach a lot about this. So we created our own opportunity to go and travel and observe, how people is. So building in Chikmagalur to Karwar to, Gadag to Gauribidinur to Tumkur to Kolar to, it looks different. It used to look different earlier. So there is a reason to it. So our, quest was why, how, what took them, how long it took them, and, what kind of craftsmen, they involved to build this. So this NGO mainly to document this, to understand and observe, and we're going to share it with general public to, see this, to get inspired from, and use it as a resource material, use it as an inspiration if they're building, some building in that particular region. So it kind of helps. So just talking about, where we are documenting right now in Karnataka. And these are we visited about 7 southern districts so far. Next slides, I'm going to show some of the houses we observed, we documented. In Chamarajanagar, these are the kind of houses were built. In Chikbalapur district, these are the houses. So it's next to, it's kind of varies based on the natural materials, what is available there, the kind of occupation, and the scale, the proportion, the shape of the house, everything kind of, differs from region to region. So this is in Kolar, where again, it's a granite country. A lot of granite is available. It's also hot. How these houses are built without engineers and architects. People themselves, the carpenter, masons, they also had the knowledge of, how the material science, So, they say to become a good architect, the last thing to be known is architecture. That means you need to know about everything, like about geography, botany, about material science, about chemistry, physics, mathematics. You need to have a kind of fair amount of idea and a knowledge about all this form of science. Psychology, that leads you into become an architect. So because it's a 360-degree observation, and also art and, kind of craftsmanship, that's how, earlier days, there were no architects, there were master masons. They were called master mason, or a master carpenter. They had this knowledge, looking at, okay, how much rain it comes. So what kind of a slope roof you need to give, what kind of a flat roof you need to give, material knowledge. So this initiative is kind of, we are observing, understanding this aspect. This is in Mandya. See, you can see from other district, Kolar district to Mandya, where you can slope roof, slowly started slope roof because the rain, is more than, Kolar district. This is in Hassan. Again, Hassan has a, kind of a semi-arid, also tropical. So, if you come in Hassan town is flat, then you go towards west, there's a Sakleshpur, there's a Ghat will start. There also architecture changes, forms changes, the material changes. You can see, the wooden pillars with, thicker size. That means there is a forest. They had an access to various different kind of wood. Where you come to Kolar, there was not much forest back then, or there's not much availability of wood. That's why there's not much of craft developed in wood compared to in Sakleshpur or in Chikmagalur. So just looking at a building, it gives you all this, if you look at from that eye or from that knowledge. This is a Dakshina Kannada, which is Mangalore, where, it's humid. It's a rainfall area, between 150 to 200 inch of rain. Then, the entire foundation is taller because of the moisture, to avoid moisture. You have a lot of, corridors all around to protect from the rain, the slope roof, the kind of material they use for the slope roof, everything changes, from the, other district like Mandya or, So every 100 to 200 kilometers you travel in this country, things changes. The topography, the, geography, the food, the clothing, the weather, the architecture, everything, changes. At least used to be. Now, things are changing, which will come to that. This is in Kodagu again, which is similar to Dakshina Kannada, but, not same. Where the topography is different. The rainfall is more than, Dakshina Kannada because of it's in the Western Ghats, in the Ghats. So we're going to show one house we documented in Udupi district in Karkala Taluk, just to give you an idea. When I say documentation, not many people don't have the knowledge what is documentation. It can be various different kind of documentation. So what we have done, I will show you. This is a house near Mala. Mala is in Karkala Taluk and Udupi district. We've selected one house. It's built about 150 years ago. It's called Jarige Mane in the Western Ghats, which is in the Ghats, where it's closer to Kudremukh, and also you have a humidity from the Mangalore side. This is the plan. So documentation means, to build a new house, we make a plan. We make plans, sections, and elevation and all of it. So here the building is already built. So we kind of, through tape and measure drawing, to understand how the entry door, how the bedroom, why they build the bedroom there, why the kitchen there. And those days they used to have a cow shed, kotige inside the house because of various reasons. One is the safety and security from the wild animals, and also the even the heat generated from the cows. It kind of keeps the house warmer, and also it's a holy the animal. So various aspect, that's why they, the lifestyle was different compared to today. This is a section, is like cutting through the building. It gives us an idea what is the height, what is the slope roof, what is the vegetation around. This is all, we used manual measurement with the tape. We didn't use any laser, because in the laser tape, nowadays people use this laser, but you can't relate to the distance. You stand in one point, you just see it in digitally. When you see, hold a tape, it's a 5 feet 3 inches. Then you're like, oh, 5 feet 3 inches means this long, or 6 inches means this long. So you can relate to that dimension, and also slowly start using your hands. Our hand is a basic tape. We have 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches, 4 inches, 6 inches, 1 foot, 3 feet. Everything is in our body. So only when you start feeling it, you will know. So that's why we still use the tape measure to, for the person who's holding the tape to understand what is, for an architect, is very important when you're visualizing, okay, my, the room will be 12 feet by 15 feet. You need to know what is 12 feet by 15 feet means. We need to have that quality. Only, then you can kind of, what you design, it will be the, same on the site. This is what you learn in architecture and in life as well. So this is the detailed exploded view. Means, you must have seen in, Cartoon Networks, or, some of the graphics where, or in a machine drawing, or where everything kind of, exploded and, joined back. Similarly, to understand how the foundation, how the, wooden column is built, how the roof is built. It's a very technical drawing. So this is the real image of that house with the courtyard and the tile roof. I won't get into detail of it. It's just visuals, for you to understand, how the house in Karkala Taluk was built. This wall's built completely with earth, which is soil, mannu, which is, except Mangalore tile, because this is, after like about, 50, 75 years of building this house from thatch roof, they kind of moved into Mangalore tile roof, because which is available, within 60 kilometers. Then the transportation was developed. But when the house was built, they built the entire house within 2 kilometers, what is available, or even less than 2 kilometers. Earth, stone, wood was there in the farm. And the thatch roof was, available. Thatch was available from arecanut, adike mara and coconut timber, and the grass, paddy. They used to grow, batta. So this, hay from that. So they created a building. And that's the mud wall. It's a different form of mud wall. It's called cob. This right side, they used to have a sagani sarso, like a cow dung flooring was there. Then, cement introduced after, 50 years ago. Then the, maintenance issues. So they used the polished cement floor. So building also, took modification as in time, new technology, but the core remained the same, which is the wall and the wooden structure. This is the cow dung, plaster. This is the kitchen. So that's why Rangoli, it's a Brahmin family house. So they had all these practices before cooking. You kind of take bath and, kind of keep the space clean. That's the practice. So you can see this is the kitchen. Everything is a firewood and you sit on the floor. That's how they used to live. So now, the two projects I've showed, why, what is the real issue is happening? And, is there an opportunity to, utilize from that to create or invent, to balance the ecology? So, this is the school, children. So anywhere in the country at 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the evening, if you're on the street, you will see like 100,000 of students. That means in India, there's about 0.6 billion. That means about 60 crore population is aged between, below 25. That means your age group, that means 0.3 billion in 10 years down the line or 15 years down the line, you need 30 crore houses to be built, schools, shopping malls, the roads, there are a lot of infrastructure required. Do we have so much natural resources? Do we have so much, material to build this? So the way we are building now, we are using a lot of, modern material like aluminum, steel, cement. So do we have enough? Do we have enough sand? Do we have enough water, clean water? So it's the time has come, for us to start thinking. Doesn't matter what age group, doesn't matter what profession, as a human being, it's a serious matter. We all have to start thinking about, ourselves, what we use, how much plastic we consume, how much food we consume, how much, unnecessarily items we buy. Does it really required? So it's the time has come to start, because it is an issue. It's not a myth, or it's not a rumor, or it's not a propaganda. We are seeing it every day around us. So I'm just giving you a map of Bangalore city from 1973 till 2020. You can see the 73 map was Bangalore had 68 or 69% of open space as a green space. Only 8% was built. That was, when you build a structure, say 30-40 site, 30-40 house, 30 feet by 40 feet of area, you're covering it. Sorry. Where nothing can grow, water can't go in that space. So that's the build space, right? In 73, it was the Bangalore had like a 69 or 70% of green space. Then you can see in 92, then slowly that red started increasing, because a lot of migration happened from the villages, around in the state or in the country. So in 2002, it came to almost equal. In 2008, red becoming more and more. In 2020, you can see there's only 3% is an open space. The remaining, even a road is, it's not an open space, because you seal it, right? When you're building, so there's no space for water to go into the earth. How the rain happens. You all must have studied in your, science class, how the rain happens. That whole process, the circle, we are kind of avoiding it. We are not letting the water go into the earth. The trees, there's, not enough trees, which is also part of the cycle to bring the, rain back into the earth, send the earth, moisture into the air. So that cycle is getting disturbed. So this, simple diagram, you can understand, we can't say, hey, people shouldn't come to Bangalore and live. No, you can't stop that. Migration is natural. Then as an architect, as a human being, how we can, do a bit. in every person can and do a bit by contributing to the society and to the nature to have that comfortness, have that balance, which again, everyone has to understand what I'm capable, what I can do, instead of, throwing or instead of, taking a, tissue paper to wash your hands, you think, oh, how does the tissue paper is made? So somewhere somebody has cut a tree or a bamboo or something to make that paper. So can I carry my own kerchief, which is made out of cotton, reusable? I can go back home and wash it. I have like 3 pairs. So small thinking. They say, alilu seve malalu bhakti. Every drop of water becomes a river. So it's our duty to take that small steps, which at a society, at a macro level, it can make an impact. Imagine 1 lakh people carry their own handkerchief. So that means when you go out to a restaurant or anywhere, so that means you saved 1 lakh of tissue paper or 2 lakh of tissue paper on that day, right? So like that, small dot makes a big circle, or So how are we prepared to face this crisis through this? So this is some of the images where, left top, where you build a home to have a shelter, have a security, to sleep inside comfortable. But today what's happening is we're building in a way, we're building in a material, we're using industrially produced materials, which also emits energy back, heat. So people have started, you build a house, in summer, you can't live inside, so you sleep on the roof. Then does it make sense at the first place to build a house, right? So you see on the right where this is, example in Bangalore where, you have a glass structure, even the facing towards west or a south. So you create a problem and try to solve it. Then you depend on the mechanical or electrical energy, where air condition. That means that building, that person need extra electricity for that day. That means government has to produce more electricity. Do we have enough hydroelectricity or solar? Then you go into the coal or, so small problem. Then at the source itself, while designing the building, can you tackle this issue? On the left bottom is a, iron ore or aluminum where we're mining and mining and mining. Do we have enough? The left top, it's a very famous picture from an Easter Island, far west, where that island, it was a forest. They had a belief, so they cut everything. The last standing, tree has been cut. So after that, people couldn't live in that. It's perished. The entire island perished. They had to migrate out. So, and the pollution is increasing. Construction is one of the major polluter, in the world, So then talking about sustainability, avoidance of depletion of natural resources in order to maintain an ecological balance. So we need houses, our population is growing, then we need to think what way we can build, which way we can balance the nature. So research and creativity and innovation with the long-lasting, passion. It's not like, okay, you create you develop a passion, you see through it. There's always, the light at the end of the tunnel. In today's generation, people are like hopping from, I like this for 6 months, suddenly you go on to something else, suddenly. So they require a continuation, finding your passion and, see till the end where, there is something will come out. So in sustainability, that is what required, which balanced, our ecosystem. Again, earlier, basic needs for any human beings, roti, kapda, or makan. You need food, you need clothing, you need, shelter. Now, in 21st century or 20th century, transportation and healthcare. These are the 5, basic necessity where, there's always a demand. There's always a, kind of ecological balance required. These are the, every day we consume food. Every day we wear clothes. We live in a house. We need a house. We need a school. We need a, theaters, then getting into each, somebody get into, fashion designing or clothing or, textile, then in that field, one can start thinking how it can be, how one can, balance, the nature. So, for example, food, now you go to any fruit shop, you see same kind of fruits throughout the year. Is it possible? The mango comes in only one season. Jackfruit comes in only one season. Now people are kind of going to different, for example, mango is grown in a different season in, South America. We're getting mango from there in winter time here. So there's so much of transportation required. So there's so much of fuel required to transport that. So where is the ecological balance just because of our greed? So, every field there's a required an innovation, the passion, and that, create a balance. So just quickly, again, getting back to how the traditional houses were built in different, state of India, just to understand, it's directly related to the weather, skill, and the local material available. Say in Kashmir, it's cold, wood was available plenty, pine and, oak. So the wood also is good for, cold region. So they used to build wooden houses in Kashmir. You come to Rajasthan, it's dry, there's no rain, the earth was available, hardly any wood. They would build the entire houses with earth because also it's cooler. There was no electricity earlier. So there was no fans or AC. So how did naturally... So you can see Assam or Karnataka, Nagaland, it's all varied based on the local. So the modern house, see, these houses were not built from engineers or architects. The modern houses of India, built by architects and engineers with knowledge, with educated people, so-called, on the same state, these are the buildings are building today. Pretty much everything looks the same. So earlier, if you land in Kashmir, you can see this is in a mountain range. If you go to Kerala, the houses were different. Today, throughout the country, most of the buildings started looking the same. That means we are losing our identity. We stopped thinking. We are just taking the shortcut. Okay, somebody is building in Singapore that way, or in Dubai, or in Delhi, or Bangalore. I'll also build the same way, irrespective of how the weather, how the material is available. So that's what most of the people have started thinking. So addressing the sustainability at a home level, as I said earlier, it'll impact on a society level. These are the, to build a house as an architect, as a builder, as a homeowner, these are the points to be, kept in mind, which also balance the ecology, our natural resources. So again, the all bottom, line, simplicity in living, I have so much, do I need extra because it's coming on line every, there's marketing is happening, do I need to buy extra? So I'll just give you a little brief about what is architecture, why architecture is important. So the importance of architecture, at its roots, architecture exists to create a physical environment. You can read it. So how architect can contribute meaningfully to societal problems. Planning of cities to minimize pollution, increase physical movement, combating sedentary lifestyle, increasing green spaces and parks. So as an architect, we look into all these aspects. How can architecture solve social problems? This is all the, I've kind of, typed on Google to understand what is the role to, somebody has already written it, so it's easier to share it. You can read about, more what is the role, not just as an architect, as a, as a responsible citizen, as a responsible human, what's our duties in the society, as an individual, as a family person, as a community person. So, sustainable architecture is not just only energy efficient and healthier for its inhabitant, but it also benefits the planet, by reducing our reliance on non-renewable resources, means fossil fuels such as coal and oil, there's only limitation. You can't, nature doesn't produce in 100 years. It takes millions of years, produce the, petrol or coal. So dependency on these material, if we can reduce it in our own, field, in our own day-to-day life. So now, why the sustainable architecture, even sustainable lifestyle is the future. Building that preserves the environment and natural resources. Sustainable architecture is the best way to build without depleting the Earth's resources or having a negative impact on the environment. And, so a lot of people have a question, how today we can build a modern structure, high-rise buildings using this natural material. Yes, it is possible. This is some of the modern buildings using, for example, this is using bamboo. There's an innovation is happened, from the young architects, young engineers has been innovating using the same natural, bamboo you plant it today, in 7-8 years, you can harvest it. You plant it again. So there is a balance. Like, for example, if you use steel, once you excavate the iron ore from the earth, I don't think it's going to come back in our lifetime or another 1,000 years. So that's the end of the story. Where do we go then? So that's why these kind of natural, why bamboo or wood is ecological. You cut it today, you plant one more, plant, in 30, 40 years, you can recut it again. That's why it's a balance. That's why it's ecological. So this is again a school is built in bamboo. Massive, in Bali, in Indonesia, they've used only bamboo and thatch to build a 21st century school. See, you can see on the left side, it's a multi-story apartment built with wood in Netherlands, where they used only wood to build it. There's no concrete in it. It is possible to use this, using the natural material to build the high-rise buildings. It is possible. Of course, there are some other modern invention is fantastic, where, it's a finding balance is the key here. See, using, you must have seen huge hangars or industrial shed built with steel roof nowadays. But a lot of, in different countries, they're using wood again to build that large span structure. Even for an aeroplane hangar, you can, replace the steel and build only with, it can be in bamboo, it can be in wood. So that's why the passion towards that and belief towards that and innovation required. This is again a huge structure built with earth. This is a rammed earth structure built, multi-story building. This is one of the, in Yemen, in North Africa, where 13, 15 floors was built with just earth. There was no concrete used. Even today, people are, living in it. So these are the examples give you more confidence, more belief that it is possible. This is some of the other techniques, where around the world people are using in 21st century, using, a simple technique, to tackle the weather, tackle the, kind of how to find balance with nature, how to live with nature. I end this presentation with a very famous quote from Octavia Paz. It's called, "To be truly modern, we must first reconcile with our tradition." That means we can't forget our tradition, our culture. It doesn't mean that you stay back in that. Our lifestyle, thinking, demand, everything has, innovations have changed, but go forward carrying our roots, carrying our past, wherever your roots from, wherever, in any field, doesn't matter, it's not just architecture, in any field, carry that observation, carry that our ancestral knowledge, which, it's all, continuation, so carry it to a forward. That's what, this sentence is all about. And at the end, less is more. So, living with limited, what is enough? That's enough. So I don't need more. I'm living comfortable. So that is a solution for various problems we are facing in the world today. So with just this, one sentence, and thank you. I've taken extra time. Hope we have time for questions.
Yes, a few we can take. Any questions from participants? You can raise your hand. Any questions? Okay. So just I want to ask one question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, you can ask question. You can unmute yourself and
Yes, ma'am. Hello, sir.
Yes. Hello. Hello, Alicia.
Hi, sir. My name is Lisha. So I have a question, sir. That how do you choose the good? How do you choose a good place for building a house, or where do you think it should be built in a place?
Sorry, repeat your question again.
How do you choose a good place for building the house?
Good place or a good site?
Yeah.
See, that's a very general question. If you have a freedom to buy anywhere, then you can buy which relate to you. Sometime, imagine you have a 2-acre farm, right? Where do you choose to build a house? If you observe, how people used to build today, we all see. Imagine your land has a mound or a top of the portion where everybody wanted a view, right? Naturally, people say, I want to build my house on top of the hill. But ideally, it has a problem also. The moment you build on top of a hill, that means you're vulnerable to nature, like wind and rain. Sometimes with a heavy wind, it can take off your roof. So observing the land from the wind, from the sun, these are the factors, and the topography in the monsoon, or if it heavy rains, if you build on the slope, then what are the technique you need to avoid water entering into the building? All this factor you need to consider before selecting a site. So it's very site specific. I cannot have one sentence answer to that. It's very site specific. Sometimes some land have farm or where a growing area, some kind of a rocky area. It's ideal to build on a rocky area and leave that growing area as it is, where kind of you have a space to grow. Hope it's kind of satisfy your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Srinath, sir.
Yeah, good evening, Ajit. It was a fantastic talk. Thank you for accepting and delivering the talk. I appreciate the alternatives and people are using it. I mean, people like you and many, Ashwin, I know many people who are doing good work. But when it comes to the what you call pavement, road, or the highways, what are the similar possible available alternatives to avoid bituminous or cement or tiles, which are extensively used now? Because I have seen one in South America, in a Pantanal forest, there is no tar road is put, but it is purely mud road only. It is very good, and I mean, it could sustain heavy vehicle movement. I have not seen such thing. If you have seen anything like alternative to cement road, tar road, or pavement tiles, like we see, that direction, can you show?
Yeah, see, just on that note, for example, in Australia, especially in mines, those roads are built for, transporting heavy trucks, with 20, 30, 40 tons. And also these roads, even tar road or cement road, keep a lot of maintenance required. And also these roads are meant for 20, 30 or whatever years. What is this technique they've found out? Very simple technique. It's a bioenzyme from a termite. What glue it produces. You must have seen the termite, hills, the ant hills. So they extracted this bioenzyme from the termite and made it as a liquid. You lay it on the earthen road and you kind of ram it. It becomes like a rock. So that's why I said, innovation is required. we have been seeing bitumen. Bitumen is not only the solution, or concrete is not. Of course, it's a great invention. In a lot of the, for example, in Europe or France and Germany, they started using bitumen, which is porous. Where even that's why if you're driving in these roads, whenever it rains, from the opposite car, the water doesn't splash on your windscreen. That means whatever rains, it falls on the road, it kind of goes into the earth. So innovation is the key. With like a bioenzyme, what I said, termite. In India we have so much termite. So somebody, some agency, where inventing. I'm not saying it's not happening. For example, in Auroville, in Pondicherry, where a lot of the roads internal, they kept it as an earthen road. A lot of vehicular movement. Even they use, about 3 or 4 kilometers of stretch, they've tested using the earthen compressed brick road, where you take the earth and make it as a brick, adding a, kind of a stabilizer, then there's no bitumen, there's no concrete is being used. So innovation is required. Even, some of the footpaths in Bangalore you've seen, it's solid. There is no percolations. So all the water going into the drain, going into the, into the bigger drain and the lakes, and, eventually going to Kaveri, then going to, Bay of Bengal. So where is the water, going down? So in every inch you can do the innovation, and, there's an alternative way, started asking questions. That's the key, start thinking, for example, where, the government agencies, they started thinking. If they start thinking about what are the alternative ways, when all these, engineers, ministers, when they travel abroad to observe as an official tour, they need to start observing this. And also our scientists, our students, and, everybody in their own field, if they can, find there is a solution. There is always a way if we start thinking in that line. Yeah. So, that's what I'm hoping. And, there is, there are a lot of agencies and, institutions will start, inventing these things for our country, because we have a lot of natural resources. We have the brains, we have the opportunity, we have the demand, we have the space, we have the financial support. All of it we have. We have to start acting on it and take a very, like a bold decisions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Krishnan, you want to ask the question?
Yeah. So, sir, I mean, I was just listening to your talk. So, I had just one small thing. So, what is the initiative taken to press government for implementation of bylaws and by and large? Because enforcement of law appears to be the major flaw in whatever you said, the 30-40 side full construction, what people are doing, and over-exploiting the space given. So this is one thing. And second thing is there were, conservation things implemented at least in 2-3 areas of Bangalore, which I know for recharging the groundwater and retaining the groundwater, utilizing or increasing the groundwater table. So this was one is like Jainagar, and the second area I think is Vidyaranyapura. So though these have been done at and one what I understand from my reading is that the water conservation should be done as a community. If it is done individually, I mean, it's not of much. Maybe it is useful, but it's like not of much value. So as a community, if it has to be done, it should be from the government level. So what are the initiatives taken towards pressing government for this? Because though it was implemented and found successful, I don't think there is a push by any agency to do this.
Yeah, it's a good question. So talking about the water from an individual level and the government level, as I said, every human being have our own duties. If I'm living in Bangalore, I'm part of the community. If I look at, in 30-40 site, I have a house, right? Instead of building end to end, if it's, there is a guidelines, bylaws, which is, whatever 3 feet you need to leave setback. So much of area, instead of concreting in completely, whatever roof water you're catching it, whether you harvest it or recharge it. There are two ways to look at it. Recharging is collecting that roof water, sending it back into the earth. So what happens? It's not that your borewell, you get only that water. No, anybody in that locality, the groundwater will develop, right? And also if you can afford, to build a sump tank in your house, whatever, at least 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 liter of water. So for that, in summer, you can use that, water. You're not depending on the borewell. You're not depending on the Kaveri line. You're not depending on the government. That's an individual, level. Even consumption, that also need to be looked into. For example, I'll just give you a simple example. Taking a shower, like from the overhead shower to a bucket bath, right? In the bucket bath, you see, I've used 1 bucket of water to take a shower today, or half a bucket of water. In the shower, you won't know. You have no idea how much water you consume. Like that, it's even, educating our kids to know how much, water is one of the most important commodity. We use it, smartly. Like that, even, invention is required where toilet flush, we are using potable water to flush our toilets. Can we invent, simple technique, plug and play, where every household can, use that to treat our gray water, from the shower water, with simple machine, or, not like spend a lot of money. Then people are like, okay, it's too expensive, I can't afford it. So invention is required at that level. Yes, at a macro level, from the government's agencies, a lot of, government also need a lot of, information, knowledge, and push to, work at a community level. And also, there's also one more, it's just a joke, but it is possible, where Vastu, if the Vastu consultants around the country start inventing, new ideas, and they say, every house should have 2 trees, not a coconut tree, a forest tree. On this side of the, site, you need to leave an open space. On this side of the site, you shouldn't concrete it. Then everybody start listening. So there's the invention required from all angles. So, unfortunately, through our initiative, what we're doing, from Samrakshan India, we're collecting, we're observing how people used to build. For example, any natural calamities happens, or social housing, HUDCO, kind of fund this project. For example, in Gujarat, the earthquake happened, the tsunami happened in, Andaman and, different parts of mainland, in, landslides happened in Coorg or Kerala. Does the government have a study of these rural architecture, or how people used to build? So that becomes a guideline for engineers and architects who are going to design these houses. No, government doesn't have that. So, for example, in Andaman, after the tsunami, a lot of, houses been lost. So people build houses using steel and asbestos sheet and polymer products. For example, there are more than 10,000, 20,000 coconut trees, fell down in tsunami. Not even one proposal to use those coconut timber. It also started a new, industry in Andaman to generate employment using their own material. Bamboo is available. No, so through our initiative, we are, collecting information. Eventually, our goal is to work on the guidelines, mainly on social housing. What are the material? What are the feature? To be followed in social housing, because in social housing, you have more control because government is funding this, so they have a, more control on this. So our ultimate goal is to work on the policy level, regional based architecture. It's not like an entire country, one formula. No, it doesn't work in a country like India, so that's why in my other slides, we started looking all similar, same entire country. We, if you go to, South, in Bangalore, any restaurant, there are hardly any dedicated South Indian restaurants. You get North Indian food, so that's becoming like that. Everything, food, clothing, culture, everything become, globalized, one. There is a flip side to it. I'm not saying it's bad or good, but, we need to be careful with that in every field. not just in architecture. So yeah, so it's an individual duty. Also, it's a government duty. We can't just blame or depend on the government. We need to start changing ourselves, our day-to-day life, our own, system in life. Then at a macro level, if 1,000 people start, conserving water in one, for example, one layout, there are like 1,000 people are living. If everybody start recharging their own site, then the water level automatically will come up, for their own bore wells. Then government don't have so much pressure to again, put one more pipeline from Kaveri or some other river to bring it. It's again, government means it's us. More infrastructure required means more tax we need to pay. Can we, everything start from that one individual, one family? We just do our bit, then, naturally, we get to see the results. And and there is a great example which is not very far from us, Auroville, where people 40, 50 years ago they've created it. The barren land, now it's like a forest, where the communities are depending on each other. This is an amazing example. It's must visit place to go, and there are so many other places, not just Auroville. Other communities. One can kind of learn from it.
So one question from Uma Maheshwari madam. Sir, thank you for the informative session. Why are we not using natural materials like bamboo, wood, mud, etc.? Is it expensive, or they are have other disadvantages?
Why we are not using? Because there are various factors. There's not just one solution. One, there is not much invention or a kind of a infrastructure developed where from the growth, demand versus the produce, there's no proper system where even myself, I can't buy a treated bamboo by going to a shop. It's not available so easily. That is one. Two, the lot of builders and architects and contractors, they don't suggest this material because it's not like off the shelf. Cement you can buy from the next shop. You just call them, they'll just deliver. Convenience. Even contractors, they don't suggest that. It will come back to them. Who's going to buy bamboo from where? Who's going to treat it? I don't know. I don't have that kind of skill set in my team. Why should I propose this? This is reason two. Reason three, as an individual, as a homeowner, not many people do a lot of research to understand, what are the various materials available. So these are the three factors. And no, it's not expensive. If bamboo used rightly is stronger than steel. You can, it's treated well, used well, it's stronger than steel. Even today in China, where they build up scaffolding, Sarway, up to 50, 70, 80 floor tall, they build bamboo sarways, scaffolding. Steel is expensive, it's heavy. Bamboo, you use it once or twice, it still makes more economical sense. People are building bridges, people are building, bamboo bridges. So innovation required for an acceptance, a lot of models required, they're like where the government agencies, they, should, for example, there's a bamboo and plywood research institution in Bangalore, which is in, there are two. One is on Tumkur Road near Nalmangla Highway. Other one in, for example, in Malleshwaram. There's so much amount of, resources available there. There's so much brains are available there. So much funding. They're not innovative. They're not, they're not doing any project. They just build a couple of houses in their campus and they expect people to come and, no, that's not the way. You have to be bold. They have to start, inviting architects and engineers. They conduct workshops, awareness program. So then, kind of belief system will start happening. All this, there's no accountability. There's one problem in this country. I'm not saying generally, a lot of this, the government has so much knowledge. They're, investing on a lot of universities, is there an accountability? Like, for bamboo and, plywood institution, every year there's so much funding, right? Is there an accountability where are they giving target? Okay, you need to next year, you need to build 200 Ashra Yojana schemes based out of bamboo. No, nobody's asking these questions. It is possible. Bamboo or even wood, people are building airport hangars. People are building apartments out of wood in Western world, in European countries, because a lot of invention happened. Government decides, okay, what is the demand for next 5 years of the country for the wood in European or a North American part. So they plant so many trees as a forest, and also they restrict certain forests. For next 5 years, nobody can cut. It's a reserve, wood reserve. I'm sure we have the same in India. I don't know how far it is implementing. So it's from 360-degree angle. We need that approach. So then only, as a possibility, yes, it's long lasting. It is possible, but it's not just, from the system, the infrastructure, required in this, in this field to be acceptable from the people. Like 40 years ago, to use cement, or 50 years ago, it's like a ration. You need to give a permission to buy cement. You need to wait for so many years. You need to show your kata, you need to show your ration card. Then so many number of bags, cement, government would supply. It was very difficult back then. Now it's easy like that. Even all this material, government has to take that initiative and, creating, whatever support required for individuals or organization coming in this field to, set up these industries. They need the support, hand-holding initially. That's why, not many, for example, bamboo, there might be like 5-10 good agencies in the country who give you a treated bamboo. 10. For a country like us, we need at least 1,000 agencies who are doing that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
One question from my side. Why all houses in Jaipur are blue color? Is any, from your viewpoint, I want the answers.
It's a good question. It's, I guess it's a, maybe the belief system, or, maybe they're, I don't know the right answer to it, I would say. Maybe somebody is following it, it's a lime base. Maybe they added a pigment. Maybe it's, as a culture, or as a, kind of a reduces the heat. I don't have a good answer to that.
Okay, so that Vastu answer was you are thinking about that now. It's very nice thought, actually.
Yeah, maybe I should write Vastu, modern Vastu, keeping these in mind and create some fear among people. So fear, way is one of the way people follow it. That's what Vastu does. Create a fear. If you don't do it, it will happen to your family. Then people will follow it.
Yes.
Maybe somebody or a government should, if government, write it, nobody believes it. So maybe some individual should write it in a very, where somebody can believe, in that way, add some, faith, add some, I think that's one of the reason I was thinking. Yeah.
Yes. It's a smart thinking. Okay. Sir, we are running out. I thank Ajit sir for throwing spotlight on sustainable architecture. Your thoughts have truly inspired us, and thanks for engaging us with your knowledge. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I hope students could understand my vocabulary, like technical vocabulary. If they have any doubts or anything, they can write to us, on social media, or, any doubts. We are open to answer, on, in sustainable architecture, or how one can make a career out of it. Please, you're welcome. And also you're welcome to visit our campus near Magadi. town, west of Bangalore, please get in touch with us. Thank you.
Dr. Puneet.
Yeah, I think you asked one question that why Jaipur is pink painted, na?
Blue,
Yeah.
blue.
That is, it has some historical reason. To the best of my knowledge is that the then ruler there, some Maharana was there, Maharaja Swami Ram Singh or somebody, and this somebody from British was coming. So pink color is for hospitality, basically. So he made the city coated pink, and then that the thing became tradition there. So in the honor of the royal guest, it was painted pink by the then our Maharaja Swami Ram Singh. Right. That is the history actually. There is nothing scientific about it.
Yes, and also in some of the famous historical sites of the world, for example, in France or Greece or Italy, if you have a heritage monument, within so many meters or kilometers, you're not allowed to paint any flashy colors. You're not allowed to use any modern material. So that's how they brought in a bylaws, very strict bylaws, to maintain that heritage value and also tourism. So where just to give you an example, in Mysore Palace, 200 meters from there is a Mysore bus stand, which is built with completely red color glass and aluminum panel. Entire building looks like that. It doesn't look like a bus stand. That's what we are not looking into. So heritage is, yes, strong guidelines required. If you have an old temple or anything historical around that, you need to maintain that local vernacular architecture, at least the facade. So yeah, thank you, Doctor, for that Jaipur insight. I didn't know that.
Thank you.